Wow. Alright, let's see what we're working with here. Ooh, stiff. Yeah, these break. Sometimes I put WD-40 on the threads and screw them in and out to basically lube up the area. It seems a bit silly because you can just spray them when they're out, but I like to take the pressure, look, off the nut quite quickly, and look, that's made a huge difference. For something that was crumbling, you can see how dry it was. This one's quite solid still. I think the whole caliper is a bit dry. Oh, look. Remember, a lot of these calipers are floating calipers. So once this system stops floating, which this one currently isn't, look, it's not floating. Once that happens, you've lost what you needed from a caliper there, really. Let me just check that my pads reflect them. Now I'm going to cake WD-40 and stuff on here because I'm going to be cleaning it all with brake cleaner after anyway. To get some on the piston. I'm going to attempt to get some in the runners here because that's going to help me massively, but afterwards I will need to clean it out properly and really grease it up on the inside, making sure it doesn't ever come out towards the pads. It's yeah. So you wouldn't use WD-40 unless you were changing out the pads and you've got plenty brake cleaner to clean it with before. You just wouldn't use WD unless you really could clean it. So after a good hour of messing around with this, I finally got it off. I had to take the whole caliper off and tap it on the floor to get this out, the runner. Now it is really nasty in there, it's dry, seized solid. Same in there, it needs to be cleaned and greased, and then the pins need to be cleaned and greased. See, that rust on there isn't going to help. The other pin cleaned and greased. Lots of that cleaning and greasing in there, big time grease, but it cannot squirt out and get to your pads. You really need to check that. This I would have easily thrown away half an hour ago. I really thought it was past it, but a bit of persistence, a bit of WD-40, taking it fully off to be able to give it a smack, and tell it off and tell it who's boss. It actually is savable, but it needs to be done properly. So yeah, time to clean, time to grease, and then we'll look at putting it back on and seeing how well it sits. Don't get me wrong, I need to sit all this back in, I need to check that it floats, I need to check that it's all good before I mess around, otherwise I won't bother. So I've done the pads. The slider is now sliding, that's exactly how it should be. This says DOT-free brake fluids. I've not seen DOT-free for years, many years. I'm going to have to get the fluid back through now, get all the new pads tightened up, and then see how we sit there. I've got DOT-4, I'll be using DOT-4, it's all I've got. I don't know the difference really. I'd normally be going down the route of bubbling. Look, bubbling this through, and it's sinking down. But I can hear it actually going through. But I'll break the nipple at the bottom just to make sure we are fully through. I can hear it sucking in now. So, them pads are definitely done. Don't be concerned if your pads aren't that grippy when you first change them. That is completely normal. One thing I do is I strap down the front brake to make sure any air at all in there comes out. But also your pads need to bed in. They will always take time to bed in, so Don't be concerned at all. And I cake it in brake cleaner just in case I got a bit of grease anywhere. I'm going to get to the rears now. It's really not that difficult. You've got to get it on its rear stand. This rear stand's not very happy, so the rear wheel's not even off the ground. I'm going to go and get my lifter. I'm going to lift the back end, drop the rear wheel. Basically, it's one nut there. Slide the bolt through, and we'll at least grease everything up and change. I'll probably change them. I've got new ones here anyway. You'd be silly not to while you've got brand new ones. They're quite thin even from the factory, these things. Little bit of grease on the pivot parts, not anywhere near the pads, that'll ruin them. And at least you know you've done your brakes there. Do you remember not long ago I was talking about seized brake pins on the rear? Look. Absolutely can't move it at all. So with a lot of pressure and a lot of leverage, you can just about put it on, but that's why it was seizing on as well, so it makes sense. These are the old pads. They've got plenty life left, but you wouldn't go through this effort and then not put on new ones. Clean this pivot area up a bit, because as you can see here on the pivot area, it corrodes, and if it leaves a bit of a mess, that won't help it last long. Lots of brake cleaner in here before you do anything else. There's lots of dust around the edge that needs to be very, very clean. Lots of brake cleaner on this part as well. And then eventually lots of WD down here. You want it to seep through, and then I need to get more WD, and then a tap with the hammer, you'll get it through eventually, hopefully. I've actually had to replace some of these in the past because they didn't unseize. That does happen sometimes. Still a bit of a creak. I think it's possibly the headset. It's possibly the headset. I probably should go under there, pack it out with grease, recheck the torque. I think I probably will, just for my peace of mind more than anything else. If not, it's not the type of creak that bothers me to the point where I wouldn't sell it. It just isn't. But it don't hurt to just check it and pack it out and so on. In the same way, it don't hurt from rear brake shoes when you've got them. Look at the difference, guys. Look from the rear. Look. That, I mean, that's exactly how it should be. It should be absolutely free spinning. If it's not, then it's not right. Rear brake feels great. Only way to really know is just to have a sit and a feel. You don't need to go far, you just have to feel them. So the front brake does feel a bit pathetic, but we know that they're brand new pads. You just have to bed them in. They will become more grippy down the line. But if you come to a bike and the person didn't say they just changed the pads and it felt like that, then it wouldn't feel quite right. But they are right. They're bled well. They're all working. It's just new pads need to bed in, basically. That can take around 100 miles of good normal use. I am going to check the headstock. Let's just check this noise. Let's just check. Yeah, I mean, it does sound like headstock. I think it doesn't hurt to pop it off, get some grease in there, at least the top end, and put it back on. I think that's probably the plan. I'll feel a bit better if I've at least done that and checked it.